George Morgan here and Jack Canat.
All the lights are currently lit here on track. And it is go, go, go! Donoso with a crafty maneuver up the inside. Masterclass from the Chilean.
Crucial championship points on offer here.
Do not count down Danny Berezne.
Longe has done the job. This is for the win between these two.
Freddie Rasmussen wins the United States Grand Prix.
Alfie Butcher wins for the first time ever. Lucas Blakely takes the championship. It's Barry Foreman.
Jarno Opmeer is your champion.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to PSGL. It's good to be here, it's good to be back, and we are back tonight for PCF3. It's, of course, Canada this evening. It's going to be a brilliant race, a brilliant run, and I'm joined, of course, in the commentary box by Omi. How are you doing, friend? Sadly, haven't been able to catch you last time, but it's good to be back here.
Was absolutely dramatic last time out. All sorts happened. We had a late safety car, we had drivers bolting on set of soft compatible tires. It all went wild at the end. I think we're going to be in for more of the same here today at Montreal.
Yeah, well, while your mic didn't come through for myself and for the audience for that first half of that, I definitely agree on how exciting it's going to be. Can you give us sort of just a little bit of a roundup of what it was like last time out? Because it sounds like there was a lot of fireworks, all manner of strategies coming together.
Yes, absolutely. Bit of a late safety car coming in as well. Then we found ourselves with a 2-lap shootout all the way at the end. Drivers on the soft compound tires going on the attack, passing, and then it was a really, really fantastic end to the race with Diego Zorso taking the victory at the end, as he now has 2 victories this season. So brilliant stuff from him, and he's got a 10-point advantage in the championship. Other than that, though, the usual action you would expect in PSGL: pass and repass again, checking the left mirror and the right mirror at all times. The attack was coming from absolutely everywhere, and it was a really close race. And as I mentioned, we'll be seeing more of the same here today at Canada, of course, with the DRS zones. But those DRS zones will be active if it is dry. Of course, Canada always has the chance of it raining as well.
And what a track it is. So taking a quick look at Canada, of course, it's a 14-corner, 4.4 kilometer romp along the ocean line and along some quite interesting curvatures. Particularly, I look at turns 3 through to 7. You have a bit of unsuspecting curvature to the track that may catch some drivers off guard, maybe expecting a bit of flatter terrain, but that can, of course, affect your cornering characteristics. And then it cannot be understated how the War of Champions has affected so many races in the past, and I don't expect any different here.
Yeah, absolutely. We always see drivers, especially it is, of course, the last braking zone, the last corners on this racetrack. They're always trying to go all in and extract everything they can, especially when it comes to a qualifying lap. And then, of course, also in the race heading on to the last lap, always trying to get a good exit, always trying to stick with your rival to give yourself the best opportunity to be close to make the move. So it is definitely risk versus reward stuff around this racetrack.
Yep, and risk versus reward has always been the way, but in particular in Canada, in that final sector, you're going to see drivers are going to be sending everything into that final couple of corners. But it cannot be also understated the effect that this might have on the standings and the table. So looking at the drivers' standings coming out of Spa, we have Diego Zorzo with 2 wins on the trot, plus a fastest lap to claim an extra point on top of it to give himself a 10-point lead over Reyes Imtiaz. You got Larry Tilke completing that top 3 podium, only separating themselves 3 points away from the Ferrari up in second. And then you can see the rest of the field in full. Looking at the standings, Omi, is there any driver that you are particularly surprised by?
Well, I think we've definitely seen lots of drivers take some step forwards coming into this season as well. But yeah, of course, the drivers at the front of the field, Diego Zorzo, they definitely have impressed me. So has Reyes Imtiaz, for example. Diego Zorzo, for example, coming from F4 last season, where he finished in 14th in that championship. Reyes Imtiaz, a returning driver, he got 13th as well. So we have seen drivers take a huge step forward into this PSGL season 38, and it's great to see the drivers who may have not got the chance last season in their respective tiers to be fighting at the front. They are getting it this season, and they have definitely upped their performance. Whether that, of course, comes with more practice before races as well, that definitely does play a massive part. And for these drivers, they've really performed incredibly well so far this season. Diego's also raising him, so as Laurie Tulki. So yeah, definitely they have incredibly impressed this season.
Well, Tilke and as well as Imtiaz and Zorzo, they're all in a fairly close fight, and we know that these are drivers that can hang it at the top with the rest of the very talented rosters that we've seen throughout PSGL history. And these are the kind of drivers that F2 is maybe going to be looking at, or certainly development opportunities from the wider league racing scene. Of course, in the chat, we see you all joining us in there, but let us know, as always, who you are excited to see, who you are looking forward to seeing out on track. We will be going trackside in just a few minutes, so we have just had a couple of internal lobby issues. We are now resolving those, and we will be getting away onto the track in just a moment. Omi, besides the drivers that we looked at on the standings, is there anyone that you're hoping to see do well out here in Canada?
Well, I always just hope for everyone to do well. Every single driver in the field, it's always incredible to see who comes out on top, and just looking round from round, looking to see who is going to be, who possibly has the pace over each other track to track. So it's always very interesting to see that factor coming into play, and we can see a driver have a standout performance. So yeah, I really just love seeing everyone performing right out at the front of the field. And at the end of the day, I just want a great race, and a motor race that goes all the way right till the last lap. I love last lap scraps as well. And then, of course, a good championship fight, which it seems like with this field, we're going to be getting that.
Yeah, we're certainly going to get a fight at the top, that's for sure. If not for first, then definitely for second. I mean, Zorzo has got quite that early lead, which has really set the statement to the rest of that field, making it very clear he has no intention of messing around this season. And those double firsts, 2 out of 3 races, are going to be very emblematic of that. And even when you look to the rest of the field, we have seen a bit of a spread of drivers taking the podium spots. I mean, a big standout for me is Marcel Biega. He got a 3rd place out in the 2nd round and sort of defied the odds a little bit, because while he may have had a sort of sea of low points, no points so far, he has shown that pace, shown that moment of brilliance, and the same goes with a couple of other drivers. I'm looking at Andre Molnar, say a name that I certainly recognise from seasons prior. Another solid racer, and there are many other storied drivers throughout this field who have worked their way from the likes of F5 or even beyond, and worked their way up the tiers, up the field, to get to where they are now. And now we're starting to see that transition point where we get to the really professional, higher level driving, and where a lot of it does start to come into play alongside bigger strategy calls and actually getting some race engineers involved.
Yeah, absolutely, and it was great to speak, as you mentioned, to Andrew Molnar last time out in the interviews when he got to that podium. It was really great to hear the insight about how last season in F2 he had the pace, of course, but he just got incredibly unlucky. So it was great to hear some of his insight of what went wrong in F2, what his plan is for F3 this season, and yeah, he's gone into this season with the hope of the championship and getting his promotion back up to PCF2. So yeah, really great to hear from Andrew Molnar last time after he got the podium. So Andrew Molnar's definitely going to be one to keep an eye on. Also, the pole sitter as well from last round, and he got really unlucky last round as well when there was a bit of desync, and he basically went from first to about seventh or eighth last time out, and I think that really did cost him the chance of fighting for the win right at the end. So hopefully he is not going to have any of those issues today, and he's going to be able to be in the fight fair and square.
Well, we'll be trackside in about a minute or so, folks. So last reminder, last call. Let us know who you are looking forward to seeing out on that track. And a quick look at the calendar, where we are at this point in the season. We are, of course, here with the 4th round. We have tonight. Then we have Qatar out next week. And then we take a bit of a break towards the end of November before rejoining in Monaco. And you can see the rest of the calendar out on screen. It's going to be quite a fun season. I'm already looking forward to it. And the thing that I'm noticing and I'm quite curious about is we've got a couple of breaks. Of course, we've got the festive break, and then you have also the break towards the end of November. How do you think that's going to play into these drivers' mindsets, of course, with the season? That might break a little momentum.
Yes, absolutely. It definitely can break a lot of momentum. Also, for certain drivers, can gain them some momentum. Having a little bit of time away, being able to get a bit of a refresh, practicing for the rounds ahead. So at the same time, it does give some drivers the time. But yeah, if someone is in form, they just want races to come up very quickly so they can continue performing well. But that little break could definitely disrupt their momentum. So yeah, it definitely goes both ways for the drivers and what way it does affect them. Of course, everyone wants to have a little refresh and come back fighting even better. But of course, unfortunately, for some drivers, that is not always the case. And sometimes they might find themselves coming back a little bit rusty. So it's going to be critical for those drivers in those breaks to still be getting that preparation in to make sure that they're all set and ready for the season to resume.
We have ourselves out in trackside, and the drivers are getting themselves ready to go. I'm seeing plenty of support for plenty of different drivers out in this chat. Keep it coming. Keep it coming in. Of course, we've got a short qualifying session that is about to start, and we are now going to see some of the cars make their way out onto the course. We'll see in just a moment who is going to be the first out there, and it looks like quite an interesting spread. Although another curiosity is that we are going to be seeing, if we just go to the race track, we're seeing the manufacturers. Manufacturers back on course.
Yep, we've got cars. We've got cars out there on the circuit, as you mentioned. Sappy, 17 minutes on the clock to go. Everyone on their out laps, of course, ghosting is enabled for this to make sure that there is no slipstream given to those drivers. So the collisions are turned off as well. So we'll have a lobby restart, as we usually do after a PSGL qualifying session before we go racing for the 35 lap contest. First of all, we're setting the grid for that race, and there's 1 point available for that pole position. Gabriel Quintino's taken 2 of those bonus points, and it was Molnar, as we mentioned earlier on in the broadcast, that took it last time out. But the question is, who's going to do it in round 4? We're about to get run 1 underway with Diego Zorza.
Zorza, of course, being the driver to beat out here in PCF3 right now, and is going to be wasting no time in getting straight on that track, straight out through the first 3 corners, and immediately going to be setting the pace here in the first sector, getting very close and even tapping the exit out of turn 4. And then first sector looking very good, an 18.893, solid initial pace coming out from the Haas driver. I tell you what, I'm so used to seeing the F1 World Cars, the multiplayer cars, that it's a bit refreshing to see the manufacturers back out there, because it's a lot easier, at least for us in the commentary box, and I'm sure for you at home watching, to keep track who is with what team. But a solid second sector, currently at a 40.4 Also making his way up to the hairpin, down to turn 12, jumping on those brakes, and then getting a very nice and quick run all the way down to the infamous Wall of Champions. How much do you commit? This is the opening run, so make sure you do still get something on the board. You don't want to overdo it, but that's not going to be anything like Zorzo's attitude. He still sent it all the way, and it's a 7.8 as the initial starter.
Yeah, absolutely. Immediately beaten by Gabriel Quintino, and he's been incredibly good at qualifying so far this season. You've got Kuba, who's in 4th. Zach Miles goes up to P3, and now we look to GP7 in his second ever PSGL race. Had a retirement last time out. Let's see what he can do now as well in qualifying right now, as he invalidated that lap, and we're watching now Larry Tulke make his way through. He is also another driver who has invalidated. Keeping it within the white lines is going to be critical, and especially usually we see laps lost right at the end with the Walls of Champions, and of course that chicane that ends the lap. We see lots of drivers pushing it and sending it in there into that corner, meaning they can lose it right at the end of the lap. So keeping it within the white lines there is going to be critical for the drivers.
It's an extremely delicate balance between getting that chicane absolutely right while staying out of the wall and not going too narrow as to upset the stewards and invalidate your lap. Because not only when you get it wrong at the Wall of Champions does it invalidate your current, it also invalidates your next lap because it's the final corner and you can technically get a speed advantage. So that is a crucial chicane to get right. Many of them have. Quintino leads with a 0.829, and then the rest of the field trails anywhere from a tenth between drivers to half a second, although I imagine Ryan Grove's going to be no doubt going out once again to get another run on the books. And Tristan Derbicourt is going to be next for the second set.
He absolutely is as well. So Tristan Derbicourt in the Mercedes car, making his way through down towards turn number 8, just getting those tyres warmed up at this stage. You've also got JSD out there on the circuit right now, the Aston Martin making their way through. And also we do have to say welcome to Danny Van Rooten to this grid as well. Joined us as a reserve earlier this week. We've already seen a lot of support in the live chat for him, and make sure we keep it coming for all of the drivers, as we mentioned, for whoever you are supporting throughout today's show for qualifying and the race. And Tristan Derbicourt about to begin the lap, as he is about to head to the chicane now, and then he's going to put foot to the floor down towards turn number 1.
Ball to the floor, and off we go for another lap here. Derbicourt is in the Mercedes and going to be running all the way through. So we will, of course, have the lobby restart to reset Slipstream, and I am being informed that we will be switching back to manufacturer cars. It was a lobby issue, although it has been deemed not significant enough to impact the qualifying session. The Slipstream is more important, and that was preserved. Otherwise, it would have been a restart. And now we are going to be seeing the drivers still continue to push and give it their A game. Derbicourt is on a good run right now. He is within a tenth of the fastest time. So Andre Molnar got a 0.819 on Sector 1, and Derbicourt is within a tenth of that. Solid second sector from Derbicourt as well. Still putting in some very good pace here, I do have to say. But now through turn 12, opening up the taps, easily jumping up into 8th gear just before the slight curve to the right on the casino straight. And then we head down to the Wall of Champions once again. 13 and 14 as going to approach. A little bit of lift, too much on the right corner, and that's going to be an invalidation for Derbicourt. Unfortunate, as that could have been an absolute winner of a lap. That could have been second row.
It definitely could for Tristan Derbicourt, as of course the driver who jumped up from the F5 tier straight up to F3. He was the runner-up of that F5 championship last season, and he is finding himself now trying to contend at the front here in F3 once more. Here is Buba, as he is also making his way through the opening sector. 18.865 for him in the Red Bull car, and now he's about to put his foot down once again, head towards turn number 8, and then of course the hairpin that will follow at turn number 10, with 10 minutes and 50 seconds on the clock to go for the 17 drivers in the field. We've got 10 of them who've got a lap time right now on the board, and Buba now heads down to that turn number 10. We've got an Alpine car right in front, and now we look to Kuba, currently in 7th. Let's see if he can keep it clean through the chicane. Yes, he can. And now he's going to be coming up towards the line. 7th from Kuba to 2nd place, to the front row right now, behind Gabriel Quintino.
Yep, and it's going to be making quite a move up into this field and really into the front of the pack. Buba's going to be going 2nd row in that Red Bull with a .978, barely scraping through the barrier, though not to be outdone. Many other drivers are now finding their way through. Zach Miles with a .880. Larry Tolkey just firing it down into a .758. Blistering time, and Quintino does one better. Once again, he's going to be chopping off a 10th from the leaders, and it's going to be a .629. That AMR is absolutely flying here in short quali.
It absolutely is as well, but with the performances we've seen from Quintino so far this season, that is really now, at this stage, not even turning into surprise. 3/10 in race 1, 1,000ths in race 2, and then last time I wasn't able to contend at the front in qualifying, but he's back up there once again in P1 and has got a good margin by PSGL standards right now at the front of the field, and he'll be looking to improve that even further, as here is GP7 hoping to have a better time of things this time around here in Montreal, and let's see whether he'll be able to get himself near the front soon, as he's about to conclude this lap.
Concluding the lap in short time and making a good one out of it. This could be on the books for the mid-pack, 3rd, maybe 4th row. If he can just nail this final chicane, he could really drop that time down. Making his way through. Too much on the right corner. Again, as many drivers are going to be doing that, and it doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon. That could have been a P10 or a P11, but unfortunate for him, he's not going to quite make it. Sasha Neeb is going to get into the top 10 with a .086 and looking quite impressive in that Williams. Looking like a few other cars still have to get their times done. So Tristan Derbacourt, GP7, and a name that I wasn't necessarily expecting, JST.
Yep, absolutely. So right now, JST currently is going to be trying to get himself further up the order and get himself a lap time. Right now on the board, here is Thomas Laminin, the McLaren man in 11th, joined by Ryan Grubb, who also is making his first race of the season. So he has his first appearance after missing the earlier rounds due to school trips and holidays as well. So it's great to see Ryan Grubb back, as he now takes control of the McLaren for the remainder of this season. But right now, taking control of the McLaren towards turn 1 is Thomas Laminin, as he tries to upgrade a P11 with 7 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock to go.
Well, it looks like a lot of time can stand to be gained in sectors 1 and 2 for Laminin right now. He needs to keep his composure and not to get too overzealous with his throttle application. He's actually a little bit down on sector 1, but he can make this up in sector 2 if he just balances the car on the precipice of grip. Looking nice and quick now into 8th gear momentarily before jumping back on the brakes for turns 8 and 9. Looks like he's going to be yielding off. This is not his lap, not this time anyway.
Yep, absolutely. Seems like he is going to back out of it. Doesn't want to continue pushing when he knows the lap time wasn't where he would have wanted it to be. Let's see whether it will be the same story or a different story JS is going to be hoping for. But once again, as we've seen so many times, the drivers going too much to the right, cutting over that corner, and it's an invalidation, and it's still no time, and P17 for JSD. Really disappointing stuff for him. Here is Danny Van Rooten as he joins us on this F3 grid. He's currently in P7 and he is aiming for that top 5. Let's see how much he is up in the second sector, which we're about to find out in a couple of meters time. He's up by a 10th as he looks to get himself at least to P6.
Big scrub on the front tyres though as he comes through turn 12. Andre Molnar is going to set a new bar with a .621, dominating that first sector and bringing it home just 8 milliseconds ahead of Quintino. Can any other drivers usurp him on the top spot? Very good chicane for Van Ruyten. Now up to the line. Is it going to be enough to bring it up? It's going to be a very good Sector 3, and it's going to be a second row. The Alpines looking extremely strong, and he's barely going to clip the front spot away from Larry Tilke.
Yep, thousands between third and fourth at this stage. And now we look back to GP7 as he tries to get a lap time on the board. And he is a driver who qualified 9th last time out on debut. So that was a great performance. He really put in a lot of work for that performance last time out, but Quintino continuing to put the work in to get laps like that. He's back to the front of the field, and right now he's looking at a bonus point for pole position. We join Brian Grob as he's about to come over the line. Let's see what he can do. Currently in 13th, goes to P7, so the McLaren driver's up to 7th position now. So it's Quintino, then Molnar, who's back in the pit lane as he gets ready to push on in the final run. And then it is Danny Van Ruyten, who is in P3. And now we're looking at Sasha Neeb, who has invalidated, as into the pit lane comes Ray's Imtiaz, a bit lower down than where he has been so far this season.
A little bit of surprise with Imtiaz's performance thus far, but we are going to see drivers now jump into the pit lane en masse for the final run, the Banzai phase, as many love to dub it, and I'm going to be no different here. It's going to be a shot for everyone with the maximum amount of rubber on the track and the peak conditions to get their cars down into the 0.5s, potentially even the 0.4s might be on the table, as many drivers will be looking to improve. I'm particularly looking at the likes of Reyes Imtiaz, Justin Ertz, and for the likes of GP7 and JST, at this stage, they just need to get something on the boards. Is it going to be enough? GP7 is going to get something. It's a P13, but it's a time on the boards, and that stands to be much more valuable than you think.
Yep, absolutely. Every few places on the grid is going to be critical. For these drivers can definitely transform your race, especially when we can see DRS trains form on this circuit. So it is always very helpful if you can get yourself up a couple of places in qualifying, and with the track also improving and other drivers possibly invalidating or not finding the improvement on their lap, that is when the opportunities arise for drivers to take steps forward with their position. So everyone's right now, bar of course GP7, are in the pit lane. Molnar's now heading out, and he will be the first one attacking on the final run in this session as he tries to take pole position away from Quintino. Both of these two drivers have taken pole this season, so is it going to be these two once again, or is someone else going to put their name to start at the front of the field for the Canadian Grand Prix?
Well, looking at Molnar and looking at some of his sector times, he absolutely demolished Quintino on Sector 1, almost by 1/10 of a second. But then you reflect that compared to Sector 2, Sector 3, Quintino does manage to claw that time back, and that's why he's currently sat on the 0.5s. But there is a 0.5 on the table for Molnar, certainly. He just needs to tighten up that Sector 2.
That is absolutely what he is going to be aiming for. So Molnar about to get himself underway for a lap in this session. He'll be joined by the rest of the field, who are also going to be pushing as well. Getting a good exit is going to be critical for the run down to the first turn, and now he is about to go attacking. Let's see then, with Andre Molnar, who chases his second pole of the season. He comes over the line then to begin his final push lap in this session, sends it through the opening few corners on this circuit, and now is going to be heading to turn number 3. It's a circuit where you can get very close to the wall, especially around this circuit. And we now see Molnar, who appears now to have backed out of the lap. So of course he's still got time. We've got 1 minute 30 on the clock, so he's backed out of it, and it seems like what he's going to do is push right at the end on the next lap.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to be taking it right to the line, maybe going for a little bit of a fuel burn strategy, although you don't tend to see that. I think he was just more about making a mistake in the first sector, not getting as close to the wall as to optimize his track space, and then opting to go for another run. Zozo is going to be undeterred, however, is going to remain pushing for this lap. It's currently P5, but even a single 10th is going to be quite the difficult barrier to overcome. Making his way to the end of Sector 2 now. He's a 10th down. I don't know if he'll be able to make that up at the Wall of Champions.
Bouncing all over the edge in that second sector. Now has the third sector to go, which is all about the chicane as well, with DRS wide open for him as the rest of the field also continues attacking. Some other drivers behind building up to their push lap. Zorzo has invalidated this lap. He'll try continue on if the ERS does allow it for him. He's a 10th down, and no, the ERS is of course all used from that last lap effort, meaning that he is currently sitting in 5th with other drivers trying to find an improvement. We look to Zach Miles, who is invalidated.
Yeah, everyone's just getting their setups now as the checkered flag is falling. Some drivers are going to miss that cutoff as it's going to be within 10 seconds and counting. Quintino goes with a 0.513, makes it even faster, even harder of a target to go for in the case of Andre Molnar. He's got the best time out of all 3 sectors, and this is certainly going to be a tough mountain to climb for Molnar. How's he going to do? He's invalidated this lap. He's not going to have another chance to go for it, but his teammate Van Ruyten does have a passing shot, although he's invalidated in the last chicane. Drivers are running out of chances, and that could have been something, but if not for that last run, Zorzo is going to get no improvement himself, and only a few drivers remain with a chance to get any meaningful improvements.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of invalidations, lots of errors for those drivers. But Quintino found the improvement right at the end when he needed to. We now look to Zach Miles, who is about to come over the line, close at the Wall of Champions. Let's see what Zach Miles can do over the line. He goes to the front row. 3/10 improvement at the end for Zach Miles to go into second position. And he got close to the lap of Quintino. A fantastic performance for Zach Miles, and that's exactly what we were talking about. Other drivers making errors, invalidating the laps at the end. If you are able to find the improvement right at the end of the session, you could find yourself going up quite a few places, and Zach Miles has just done it.
Miles looking absolutely immense out there on track in that final run, particularly Sector 3. He managed to chop quite an amount of time with a really well executed chicane. But in the end, second place is going to be a 0.558, and Quintino is going to be taking top honours, thoroughly taking that top spot throughout the majority of the session, and even by the end, with some serious challenges, he pushes himself even further to achieve a 0.513 and pole position. You can see the rest of the drivers here on the screen. The front row, Quintino and Miles, Molnar, Van Ruyten taking row 2, Alpine lockout with a Tilke and Zorzo making the Haas lockout in row 3. Trajiak and Grob are going to be taking P7 and P8, and then your top 10 is going to be rounded off by Buba and Reyes Imtiaz. Following that, you have Lewis Walker, Justin Ertz, Thomas Laminen, Sasha Neeb, GP7, Tristan Derbicor, and albeit only with a 1.11, but still with a time on the board, it is going to be JST in your bottom spot in P17, which rounds out our grid, folks, and quite an impressive feat, I have to say.
Quite impressive indeed. The drivers at the back now look ahead to the race where they try and go for the improvements. A brilliant qualifying session. 3 poles in 4 rounds now for Gabriel Quintino, but he is currently 7th in the championship, still looking for his first podium and the first win. Let's see whether he'll be able to achieve that later on.
And now we are going to take a quick moment, of course, stepping away from the track in order to take a moment to thank the sponsors that make PSGL as it is possible. Of course, GT Omega supporting us for multiple seasons, as well as Sim Racing Centre being there and a great partner to work with. We're going to have a short word from them and a short break. Of course, give us a chance to process the amazing qualifying we just saw. But as we take a moment to talk and to see our sponsors, of course, support the people who support us. Code PSGL, get your healthy discount at checkout. We'll see you back in just a couple of moments, folks. ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And of course, we have a lot to talk about from that qualifying. It was an immense run from Quintino to take that top spot. And I have some of the telemetry and some of the data here. Got the best time in every single sector, right up until the very end, when Miles got the best Sector 3 we've seen the entire session, a 27.230. But apart from that, Quintino looked like he had qualifying absolutely under a boot heel, under complete control there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I, of course, do remember as well watching that round one qualifying session as well, and seeing the lap time, 3/10 at the end. He was faster than the field, and that is absolutely incredible stuff in PSG when the drivers are so evenly matched. To see a performance, to see a lap like that, it was just absolutely phenomenal stuff. And yeah, when it comes to one lap pace, he's been absolutely the driver to beat so far this season. So continuing to impress Gabriel Quintino. Let's see now whether he can score himself a podium. And of course, with that, a race victory, he'll be hoping to go to the top step of the podium as well. When we do go racing at Montreal in a little bit of time, once the lobby is all set up.
Well, the one lap pace is certainly not in question for Quintino, but the big question mark over his race is going to be whether he can convert that into some serious points. He has yet to get a podium out here despite such a dominant qualifying performance, and it's going to be now a challenge for him to be able to make that all happen, make that all work. But as things currently stand, do have a very interesting situation, and we do have a couple of drivers who will need to really bring their A game. Like Zorzo, for instance, he was the third row, and that is going to put some serious pressure if he wants to retain that winning streak.
Yep, he is chasing 3 in a row here tonight, which it is definitely possible if he is able to find himself right up to the front as well, and of course also executing the strategy when to pit all perfectly. He will definitely have a shot and will definitely have a chance, but that goes for anyone in the field. As we've seen all throughout this season, there can be late interruptions in the race with virtual safety cars or safety cars changing up the contest, meaning it really could be, by the end of it, anyone's race.
It absolutely could be anyone's race, and that is the kind of thing that I very much am looking forward to, and what makes racing like this just so much fun. You get really a taste of everyone's talent, and you can see their strengths and weaknesses in full swing. You can see who's the quali merchants, who's the race strategist, who has the ability to fight wheel to wheel, keep it clean, and bring the real heat to the racetrack. But we'll, of course, be checking in with everyone in a minute. I have to say, someone who I am impressed by is Van Ruijten. I'm very impressed by their performance out there tonight.
Yep, he's definitely impressed today as well, coming, of course, to this tier earlier this week, and straight away finding himself fighting at the front, and he'll definitely be a contender for the win today as well. And it's great to see drivers just come in straight away contending near the front, and it is absolutely fantastic to see as well. And I'm hoping that he'll be a contender later on, and hopefully so will many drivers along with him, meaning that we're going to be in really for a close race, because while qualifying we have seen there be a bit of a favorite for who's going to take pole, but in the race it really is wide open, and for whoever plays the tactics right.
Yeah, you got to play the game, and playing the game means not just in the literal sense, but also knowing how to play the field, play your opponents, and really sort of challenge them to strategize. And that is another part of the racing at this level that I really love to see come to fruition, because this is where you have drivers who are really honing their racecraft, turning that pace from a sort of loose cannon into something that is truly refined, and they know when to use that pace, go for those battles pick and choose when it's their time to overtake, because that is the sign of a great driver versus a good driver. A good driver is very fast. A great driver knows when to be fast in order to take their opponents down a step.
Yeah, absolutely. And really trying to be the complete package is absolutely critical for the drivers as well. And some of the information I got from the F4 tier from last season, that Diego's also known to be a complete driver. I was told quite a lot of things about drivers who were moving up into this tier coming into this season, but I was specifically mentioned about how he is a fully rounded up driver as well, and that is really critical for the drivers to have. And immediately, I was able to see it myself. Of course, a first last time out, a first even before that as well. So he's looking for 3 in a row, as you mentioned. So I'm already getting to see his well-rounded nature as well. And Diego Zorzo definitely is utilizing that skill, and we definitely are seeing it throughout the races so far this season.
Or we are going to be waiting to see the many opportunities that these drivers are going to use in order to bring their racing up to that top standard. And now I am going to be just checking in on the lobby, because we have had a little bit of lobby issues this evening, a couple of technical gremlins that we are working out in the background. But while on the subject, we hope that people do appreciate how we're sort of changing the setup, changing up the production a little bit for season 38. You may have noticed the new camera boxes, and that's just one of the changes that we are going to be trialing out this season, using the opportunity that we have to sort of tweak and refine the format. So any feedback always is valuable and appreciated with that. And we are just going to be reforming the lobby, it looks like here. And not really sure what's exactly happening when it comes to setting. Like, we have got drivers looking to set a new lobby up completely from fresh, as we have had a setup issue.
Yeah, absolutely. So, everything not going perfect in terms of the lobby so far today. So that is why we have those slight few delays going on. But in the meantime, of course, you can let us know who you think is going to be taking the win later on today, and of course, who you are rooting for the race that should be hopefully coming your way very, very shortly. But do stick with us, because F3 always does deliver with some of the best racing we see in this game, and it's definitely always really, really fun to watch all of these exciting talents for the future all getting to battle out there on one piece of circuit.
Well, not to mention as well that directly after this race, we will be automatically feeding into F2. So if you want to see and continue with the action here at PSGL, be sure to stick around till the end, because we'll automatically be making our way over to PCF2. And if the timings do serve, you'll be able to catch the race from the start, perfectly timed. And we will, of course, enjoy much more racing from PSGL. And don't forget, we do have our other series as well. E-Series is starting back up now, and it's going to be quite an exciting event. A lot of teams, lots of big names who are going to be fighting at the top end, say the pinnacle of the league racing scene right now. But with that being said, I believe that we are almost ready to go. We are going to take a quick technical intermission, folks. And when we come back, we will be straight trackside and will not be missing a moment of it. See you in just a moment. Welcome back, and just in time for the main event. We, of course, a reminder for those who missed qualifying, we just had an amazing session, but we are about to jump trackside for the 14-corner romp that is the Montreal circuit. And now, I will say the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve, technically, if you want to go with the full name, it's going to be quite an interesting run, quite an interesting race. And Omi, I'd love to hear from you who you are expecting to win, or just any driver that you're keeping your eye on out there tonight.
Well, definitely, of course, keeping an eye on the top 5 in the field, seeing how they're going to get on. Of course, keeping an eye on the drivers near the top of the championship. Diego's also Gray's Imtiaz. What is he going to be able to do along with Larry Tulki? Also, of course, especially after the interview that we had with Molnar last time, definitely my eyes will be on him. And yeah, a prediction that is hard to call in these type of races, but I'm sure the people in the live chat definitely can let us know who they are rooting for. And we've already seen lots of predictions and support coming for the drivers, which is great to see. So make sure you keep them coming as we build up to lights out here in Canada.
I'm personally torn. I'm seeing a lot of support for Van Ruyten, that's for sure. But I'm torn between Zorzo. Of course, his track record is undeniable at this point. And also, Andre Molnar put down some seriously solid times in that quali. Quintino, I'm less inclined to keep an eye as the race winner, just because I'm not sure how they can convert that one lap pace consistently into a race distance. But we're about to find out in full. It is 5 red lights. The track is hot here in Montreal for the next round. And here at PCF3, it's a quick getaway for many cars, and it's going to be a mad jump to everyone. They're trying to go for position. We're already seeing 2, 3 wide. We're seeing Carbon being potentially sparkled onto that track as contact being made. Tires are bumping. Racers are driving as hard as they can to get those early positions. We're seeing jostling about further back. GP7 with a massive drop down the order. Justin Ertz and Lewis Walker going side by side through the sector. And Quintino, Mars, Van Ruyten are all going to be getting a bit of a breakaway, with Tulki barely straddling the line.
Yep, absolutely, as we get going here in Canada with the entire field all looking to put the pressure on each other. Who can gain some places on this opening lap very late on the brakes? For our top 2, it's Quintino ahead of Miles. Then, of course, we have Danny Van Ruyten. Not the only battles that are going on. You've got Buba getting past Lewis Walker. That is the battle that is currently ahead of us momentarily, with Justin Ertz sitting in P12 as we finally go single file to end the opening lap of this race. A very interesting start to this one, as Justin Ertz is going to try to put the pressure on, but it's Quintino over the line still as the race leader.
Well, eyes on a couple of drivers. Zorzo, for instance, he's currently struggling a little bit right now, as he's going to be falling away from the pack up in front. They've gone full push. They've given it as much as they can, and despite being on tyre parity, is not able to keep that proximity like he would maybe with his teammate. Remember, DRS is already going to be a major factor, and while it's looking overcast, the race control is the one who decides when the DRS is enabled or disabled. And as it stands, we are still running on dry.
Yep, absolutely. That, of course, could change. We mentioned the weather possibly could play a part in today's action around Montreal. Not the best exit for Zach Miles. Could leave him vulnerable to Danny Van Ruyten, who's going to go on the attack, and he's used a lot of the battery. Zach Miles getting closer to Quintino. Are we about to go side by side possibly for the lead? Not for much long though, because storming through into the lead goes Zach Miles. Danny Van Ruyten is also through, and you get 1 detection point for 2 DRS zones, and that means that we're getting a second Alpine roaring through. Andre Molnar trying to go through, and the man who started on pole could possibly find himself down to 4th, but he just about recovers it on the exit and maintains P3.
Van Ruyten with a very strong early showing, converting that P4 start into a current P2, and that could very easily change as Quintino has been displaced into the 3rd position. The DRS, of course, playing a major factor here at Canada, with a double DRS zone effectively stacking and confirming any moves that might have been set up coming out of turn 12. As long as you're in detection just ahead of the hairpin here at the end of the 2nd sector, then you are all but guaranteed the move unless some serious mistakes are made. Like just there, big lock-up for Van Ruyten. Still manages to retain proximity, though, as he's not going to allow Quintino to get by.
Absolutely, and he's also going to be looking to go on the attack on Zach Miles. You've got Booba and Lewis Walker on the mediums. You've got everyone else on the hard compound of tyres, and we've got Sasha Neeb going really close to the wall as he tries to get past. GP7 not being given the outside line, change for the lead, and we've got an Alpine of Danny Van Ruyten. He goes to hitting the ball momentarily, Sasha Neeb, and he's going to lose a position. As JSD, we look to the battle for P3 that continues on. We're a lap later. We're still battling, though. It's still Gabriel Quintino who's got the inside line and having a big moment on the exit was Molnar making a bit of contact with Quintino. Both of them still continue on, still in the same positions that they were going on to this lap, and we're seeing battles all over the place right now. At the start of this one, really close between third and fourth. Quintino stays ahead.
Yep, a little bit of a clench moment there as Molnar get a bit of a kick on the rear axle, just too much on the throttle too early. Luckily was able to keep it within control, but not without a little bit of a bump on the side of Quintino's car. No lasting damage by the looks of things, but still a bit of panic and a little bit of damage to the talent department, as we see Molnar now managing to push and retain P4 right now under a bit of a threat from the Haas duo, as Tulki and Zozo have managed to get back in within decent range. Van Ruyten is going to be under threat, though. He was in the lead, has been overtaken by Zach Miles. Is it going to be a 2 for 2, as there's going to be Quintino waiting in the wings? A little bit of an opportunity there, but doesn't quite go for it. Opts to stay back. I think going for those over-aggressive moves, going for double overtakes, is ill-advised, because you want to get that balance of recharging your battery too.
You need to recharge the battery in a race like this, and we've seen it get close between drivers in this train at so many moments. Right now we're seeing an easy switch each lap in the battle for P1 and P2, but from P3 downwards it's dive bombs into corners. All of these drivers, meaning some moments of brinkmanships coming up. Here is Reyes Imtiaz trying to make his way through a bit down from where he would want right now, and he's trying to go on the attack on Kuba. Can he go for the dive? Remember, he's still going to get a DRS because he's got a McLaren ahead, and there we go. Late lunge from the Ferrari. The two Italian teams go wheel to wheel momentarily. You've also got the two Hasses going wheel to wheel, and that's Tulki who is getting ahead of the championship leader. The Ferrari is inching up in front, and Reyes Imtiaz is moving up to P8. And here we go with Molnar pulling alongside Quintino, who wanted the move on Van Ruyten, but he couldn't get through. And we're making our way once again towards the first time with Thomas Laminin picking up a 3-second time penalty over the line once again, and Quintino still in P3 as they all get on the brakes as GP7 loses a place. And moving up, it's Tristan Deb.
Lots of drivers are going to be here dancing with the edge of the track limit on that final chicane as they come up to the line. We saw how prevalent it was in qualifying, and the race is going to be no different. We've already got plenty of drivers on 2 or on 3 warnings, and that is going to mean that one more track limits infraction is going to be a 3-second penalty. Laminen's going to be the first to get hit, but he's certainly not going to be the last, as we are 6 laps into the race, and many drivers are now just trying to find some equilibrium, find a bit of a stable position within the race, as GP7 is going to be the next car to get a track limit time penalty. And we are going to see a bit of a push from both of the Hasses, as Zozo is going to continue to clash with his teammate. Tilke is going to be like an iron wall, although this is the situation Zozo does not want to be in. He needs to push up, he needs to build that momentum towards the front of the field, and he cannot afford to be stuck, especially behind another car of his own colours.
Absolutely, he cannot afford that. Indeed. And once again over the line, the two Hasses still side by side and trying to go. The long way around will be Larry Chulki. Can Diego Zorzo get in front? These two Hasses who've been going at it in the early stages of this race continue now, and it's Chulki ahead of Zorzo. So the Hasses really going at it for 5th and 6th. Then it could open the door for Ryan Grob, who has his first F3 race of this season today, and he finds himself currently fighting for the points and trying to pick up these scraps in front to him, and all of the battling trying to take advantage of whatever he can that is going on this circuit. As we take a look at the cars making their way through, Kuba close to Reyes Imtiaz after Imtiaz made the move a few laps ago, and once again down to the hairpin thinking about the move was Thomas Laminin in the background. He was trying to get past Lewis Walker, who is currently in 12th. Laminin and GP7 both have a penalty to their name, and we're about to go on to lap number 8 with the battles continuing on the circuit. So first of all, we've got the Alpine of Van Rooten going through. What about Molnar? He had to sit in behind, and it's Quintana still in P3, but it could be a battle that rages on down to turn number 1, and it seems like he's just going to tuck in, not wanting to take any big risk at this stage that could see him losing his front wing, which is the sensible approach at this stage of the race.
Yeah, play it calm, play it cool. You've got space within the track. Unless you know that you can confirm the move, it's not wise to be sticking your nose in and potentially putting an end plate or your entire front wing assembly at risk. Especially with the walls being at such close proximity. We saw it a little bit earlier at the back end of the field. I believe it was with either one of the Alpines or one of the Kick-Salvers of GP7. But we do have those walls being very close. And that means that there is very little room for error. If you're going to try and squeeze for a move, you better make sure you are significantly alongside, because these drivers, they're not going to be so courteous as to give you the position when you're going sniffing around.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now, we're coming to the end of the 8th lap with the battles continuing to rage on around this circuit. We're looking at Diego Zorza, who's been involved in quite a few of them so far today, and he's watching his teammate get closer onto the back of Molnar, who finds himself slightly on the defensive. And here is Gabriel Quintino trying to get himself onto the podium for the first time this season after taking 3 pole positions. So that is his goal definitely coming into today, as we watch once again the field rotate their way through, and Danny Van Rooyen continuing to perform absolutely brilliantly in his first race of this season, and it's great to see him able to fight at the front and currently in the lead, and drivers just coming in into a season near the after the first round and performing already at the top is absolutely fantastic to see as ever.
Well, I'm a strong believer in opening statements, and that's why we put so much emphasis on the first 3 or 4 rounds, or in the case of this F3 season, the first 5 rounds before the November break. It's because it gives you a reasonable expectation, and in the case of these drivers here, it shows you who's got the goods and who is a driver to definitely be watching for. We look to the front of this field, we see some amazing talent, and Van Rooyen, as far as this first proper race goes in F3 here right now, or at least to say the one where he's at the front of the field, he's holding his own immensely well, even when under serious pressure from the likes of Miles, Quintino, Molnar. He's handling it with poise, and he's handling it with a sense of patience, knowing that even if he gets overtaken, he can bide his time and then go back for it again.
Lots of pressure on these drivers, getting really close to this part of the circuit at turn number 8, and they're all bunched together, and now you've got Molnar looking for the move. It's going to get really feisty between this whole field on the run to turn number 10. Does Molnar go for it? And that is a little tap as Quintino out wide. Molnar gets on the power now, trying to go through is Larry Chulke. And can Larry Chulke get there? Diego Zorza's dropped behind. Ryan Grob in the McLaren, who's also fighting his way through. And he's also going to be under pressure from Ray Imtiaz, who's currently in 8th position. Zach Miles moving up to the lead, and the battle for P3 very close as we make our way through on the exit. Molnar now down to 5th, as into the pit lane comes Buba, and Lewis Walker got really close at turn number 8, and it meant that it was even closer at turn number 10 as we saw some dive bombs coming in from these drivers. So it is definitely getting feisty out there between them all.
Buba and Walker both being on the medium opening tyre, and that of course has meant they've got to go in once the rest of the field has started to settle into a rhythm. They better hope that those hard tyres are going to be able to take them all the way through, because it seems like a very premature medium stop. Quite the undercut they're going for relative to the rest of the field. Think about it, the hards are just the strategy inverted, and the standard formation is hard to medium on most circuits. But the rest of the field is going to be pushing, continuing to find their rhythm, find their flow out here, as we are going to be soon coming up to the halfway mark of the race. But looking around the field, it looks like we've had some big winners and losers. One in particular is Zorzo, who's stuck in P7 at the moment and looking to have a bit of a struggle as he's under some serious pressure and dropping behind.
Yep, absolutely. He's got the attentions right now of Ray's Imtiaz, the driver currently second in this championship, and made the move on Kuba a few laps ago, and now sets his eyes forward to also go on the attack out of the race. Disappointment for GP7, who retired in his first race last time out, retires now in his second race once again. So GP7, it has not been the start that he would have wanted to this campaign as a reserve. And we now take a look at Kuba really pushing on the back of the Ferrari driver into the hairpin once again on lap number 12. And then it's all about deploying some of the battery if any drivers are interested in making the move this time around. And Kuba right now definitely a driver just sitting in behind, waiting for it to all unfold in front of him. And that is going to be Thomas Laminin thinking about the move, but deciding to sit behind. And that's a really close scrap that was going on just ahead. That was Ryan Grob up against Andre Molnar, and they're still battling on the run towards turn 1, and it's Ryan Grob who gets ahead, and he gets ahead of Andre Molnar.
Gotta say, to go for a move and try to be side by side through turns 13 and 14 is a unique dance with fate, I'll say it that way, as you do not want to be compromising your line through that chicane at all, given the tight tolerances and margins. Any deviation from ideal racing line and you are going to be losing some serious time, which will come back to bite you on that second DRS straight immediately after and across the start-finish line. Molnar is currently in 6th place, under the pressure from Zorzo. Zorzo himself has tried to close in the gap, but doesn't seem to be having much success, despite putting down a reasonably strong race effort thus far. Imtiaz and Trejak are going to be trading positions a little bit, and given the proximity, it does look like we will now start to see two fields forming, because although briefly JST was out of the DRS and now is out of the DRS once again, is he going to be able to get it? I think he was outside at the detection zone. I think we are now starting to see two groups of cars beginning to form as JST has just lost the toe of Laminin.
He absolutely has indeed. Now has a chance to try and recover that through the next few couple of corners where all of these drivers are slowed down by each other in this train as well. If JST, of course, has the pace to do so. 1.3 seconds, fastest laps being traded between Buba right now on the circuit, and of course Sasha and even Lewis Walker, all of those drivers near the back. And we take a look at Ryan Grob, who's been the driver so far on the attack, and we believe we've got a moment on the circuit for the Williams of Sasha Neeb, and he's off the road, and Sasha Neeb finds himself off at the opening of a few corners, turn number 3. We believe he's gone straight on, and we now look back to the live action on the circuit. Diego Zorzo versus Ryan Grob on the exit, and Zorzo finds himself wanting to recover the place that he lost. He's up against the McLaren driver. Can he get a nose inside? It doesn't seem like he's going to be able to get there. And also Tulki looking about the move on Quintino. Same can be said about Danny Van Rooten, also trying to get past Zach Mars, and we're still battling to turn number 1. This time, the Haas is using a bit of ERS. This time, he's got the inside line. It will be close into the first turn between the two of them, and now ghosted for Diego Zorzo, which could mean he loses out to the Ferrari of Imtiaz. He does lose out, and Zorzo finds himself losing a couple of places. Real disappointment for him. He's still ghosted momentarily, and instead of gaining a place, he's lost a few, and he's left the session, so that must be a little bit of an issue for him. So that's disappointing for Zorzo. Our championship leader is going to lose out massively.
I thought there was a little bit of desync, and that was why he ghosted through, and maybe there was just a bit of network protection, but no, that is a disconnect from Diego Zorzo. That is going to be a death nail in his race efforts out here in Canada, because the AI is not going to have even close to the kind of pace that these F3 drivers are going to be putting down on the track. So he is as good as done in terms of points, unless he can get back in this race, and he can get back in fast with some serious pace under his belt. Looking at the rest of the field, though, it looks like the trading at the top of the field continues, as Van Rooten is going to be taking top spot once again as we open up lap 16. The Alpine leads.
Yep, absolutely. The Alpine back at the front of the field. And here we go, brave stuff. Quintino thinking about making that dive to the inside, and he didn't go for it in the end. The sensible option. He'll get his opportunity very, very soon in the next few laps to take the position, of course. Right now at this stage of the race, just charging up the battery and keeping that for when he absolutely does need it. Molnar currently the driver in 5th with a penalty next to his name, and a penalty in this type of race will be costly for anyone who is fighting near the front of the field, so definitely not what you can afford. And here is Sasha Neeb, who is well, lost pieces of his front wing, so he's going to retire from this race to become our 2nd retirement of the contest. And we look now back to Quintino, who is going to be trying to get past Zach Miles, and Danny Van Rooten on this lap, able to get a bit of a gap. Of course, that will come down now with the 2 DRS stunts coming up for the Ferrari.
Remember, Quintino, pole position at the start of this, and by about half a tenth of a second as well. So he certainly has the pace on tap. It's just about whether he can make that work alongside a bit of racecraft and battling to get around other cars. We've seen him think about it, we've seen him poise himself to go for moves, and occasionally have a bit of back and forth with a couple of other drivers, but he hasn't 100% committed to a decisive move in a couple of laps for that P2 position. And I would honestly say, that's good thinking. Quintino doesn't need to fight this fight, because all he would do is he'll be tagging out with Miles to trade with Van Vleuten, or depending on who is at the front at the time. We'll have to wait and see, of course, how this pans out with the pit window. But the thing that's on my mind is if Quintino is just biding his time. He's waiting for the ideal moment to strike on the both of them. Maybe seeing how they come out after the pit window and going for a slight variation on the tyre strategy. Maybe a lap over or a lap under could make all the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And Quintino, a driver who was facing the wrong way last race at Spa momentarily as well, and that cost his race. Of course, you need to balance out the risk. No need to go for it. And he's a driver who's had the pace all season. We've mentioned, of course, that brilliant pole position by 3/10 in round 1. That will always be one of the major highlights of the season, coming in to the first race and taking pole by 3/10 and then continuing to assert his dominance when it comes to qualifying in the other rounds as well. So Quintino, brilliant in qualifying, but still, as we mentioned, hasn't taken a podium when it comes to the race. So that's what he's going to need to try to do. Has the pace, now just needs to get the results to show it as well and get some points to his name, because the way he's driving, he does have the pace to, of course, fight for this championship, but he just needs the results when it comes to those races. And some of those moves, when, of course, you're debating whether to go for the dive or not, can be critical in that, and keeping yourself in contention all the way to the checkered flag to be in the fight for the win.
We're certainly hoping to get a move done, and maybe it might be his lucky day for a podium, but one thing is for sure. If he doesn't move, if he doesn't act fast, Tulki is hot on the heels, and he is done waiting. He is not as patient as that AMR. He's going to be fighting and going for that move. So if he doesn't put on a good defense and balance out the attack on Miles, Tulki could very much try and take his podium spot away from him. So it's that juggling act that he's really got to balance out right now. It looks like so far it's going well, but that could all very quickly change. We have crossed over the halfway mark of the race now, so racers are now going to be considering the possibility of going in for their pit stop onto a set of medium compound tyres, or even stretching it out a little bit further onto softs if they are so inclined. Looks like Zorzo briefly rejoined, but has since left the session once again. His AI thoroughly leaving himself in the dust. I think it's safe to say we're not going to be seeing a triple header in terms of podiums for the Haas driver.
Yeah, won't be 3 wins in a row for him. Is going to be a dive bomb, though, at turn number 10 for Ryan Grob. Whether it's successful or not, that is another story, and it seems like he was unable to get through. Ray Imtiaz is also going to get the chance in the Ferrari to go on the attack. Another driver who wants to be fighting for this championship. Into the pit lane goes Zach Miles after making a move for the lead momentarily, and the field now makes their way line once again then, and towards the first turn. Now Quintino is going to get his chance because Denny Van Ruiten is not going to have that DRS, but of course these drivers all soon looking to come into the pit lane, and that's exactly what you were mentioning as well. Sometimes drivers don't have a choice. They need to sometimes pass to make sure they don't drop far too low down, because Larry Chulke will be on the attack, so is Molnar, so is Ryan Grob, so is Ray's Imtiaz. All of these drivers, especially Ray's Imtiaz, of course, second in the championship. He came into this with a bit of a poor qualifying than what he would have wanted. He's of course seen his championship rival, who has a 10-point advantage, have a disconnection, so he needs to try and take advantage, and the PSGL championships always come down to those little few points, so he's got a day which he could definitely capitalize on with the bad luck that Diego Zorzo has faced. As we take a look at Justin Ayertz, the F4 champion from last season, looking to try and make the move on Kuba, but it's going to be Gabriel Quintino finally getting back to the place that he wants to be, P1.
Quintino is going to be taking the lead of the queue just in time to head over to the pits lane, as Molnar is going to be staying out and inheriting the lead of the race, at least for the time being. He's going to remain committed for at least one more lap on those hard compounded tyres, and the question on my mind, as many as everyone else's, is where are these drivers going to be coming out on the field? Quintino leads. Van Ruiten is going to be just behind in this pit queue. And it's going to be Tulke, who is displaced down a little bit further, it looks like, though, with the rest of the drivers now rejoining the queue. Miles has stayed out, Buba stayed out, along with Walker, Laminin, and then JST in second, although we do have a lot of this side of the field having time penalties that they will need to consider when it comes to their final position.
Yeah, absolutely. It is definitely going to be something for all of them to consider. So the next race leader out there on the circuit is Zach Miles, as you can see on screen. He's made a pit stop so far, so he's going to be the driver who finds himself in the Ferrari, being a contender in this race, with the rest of the drivers all trying to chase. Laminin also got the jump on Quintino. Into the pit lane comes Molnar. He of course had to go out an extra lap to make sure that he doesn't lose even more time with the double stack with his teammate, so he had to go round once again. JSC also went round as well in the Aston Martin, and it will mean that our next race leader, Zach Miles, is going to be the official race leader over the line with the fastest lap as well, but taken away immediately by Thomas Laminin, who has got to get past Lewis Walker and Buba, who are on those hard compound tyres. So can Zach Miles try and pull away and break outside the 1 second? That could be critical for his race.
I'm going to say Miles with the quick strategic thinking, jumping ahead, then diving into the pit lane for that one lap undercut. We were saying earlier that a lap over or under makes all the difference, and Zach Miles has proved that in full force. Even Laminin as well, making quite the jump up the field by undercutting with 2 laps on the mediums. They might start to feel the effects of that towards the end of the race, but the important thing is they have track position, which is a much easier position to hold than trying to attack for the top.
Yep, absolutely. Laminin looking for it on the outside line. You don't usually see many passes out there on the outside line, but getting the power down with the grip, he should have the position. Now DRS open. He's also going to try and get past Buba, but Laminin needs to get on with it. So a bit of a different story he finds himself in right now, and Lewis Walker is inching back in front of not only Laminin, but also ahead of Buba. And here we go. Gabriel Quintino alongside. He's going to get past the McLaren. He's fighting Laminin right now on the circuit. Laminin wants to also get past Buba, who is going to be forced wide slightly. Quintino gets the power down. Quintino is going to take the places up to P3. Also trying to go through is Van Ruiten, and Thomas Laminin finds himself dropping down, so that is not what the driver who had the undercut and got ahead of Van Ruiten and Quintino wanted. So Laminin down a couple of places. Here we go then with Danny Van Ruiten trying to make the move on Buba, getting the power down, and he'll have that position as Quintino further up the road gets ahead of Lewis Walker.
Yeah, a couple of roadblocks for some of these drivers as they try to fight their way all the way down, as Laminin now getting past Buba. A little bit of tyre bumping and a bit of fender bender here and there, but that is not going to stop the medium runners for pushing with all their might to try and take these spots. Quintino now making his way up into P2, but now he's a sitting duck. Miles is 2.5 seconds up the road, so unless that Aston can unlock that quali pace one more time, it could be a lost cause to try and go for the top spot once again. We have 12 laps of driving left, and the timing is very much going to be tight as they are on the clock now to make this work. Remember, just 1.5 seconds and it'll be within DRS range to really claw back, but it's going to have to be pure pace difference from this point on.
Quali lap after quali lap is what Gabriel Quintino will need, and the rest of the field will try and go with him as well. So the slight time advantage for these drivers. They need to utilize everything they can to get on terms with Zach Miles before the end of this race as well, and also at the same time keeping enough battery in hand to use. And now we're looking at Lewis Walker and Thomas Laminen, who is surely going to try and get through, and he'll be disappointed. Of course, he had the position and over Quintino, over Van Rooten, but he finds himself dropping down with these roadblocks as you described for these drivers. And right now Laminen now has his teammate Ryan Grubb behind, and Lewis Walker still getting the 1 second, so he's still able to stay with these drivers out there on the circuit. 1.8 seconds, so it seems like Gabriel Quintino immediately going to work, and he doesn't have too much time, so he absolutely needs to. That is really close in the background. That's Molnar to the apex first, up against Reyes Imtiaz, who will try to get the power down, and they will have a drag race. Ferrari versus Alpine, and the inside line for Molnar should mean he has the place, and it does.
Quality move there from Molnar, putting the pressure on, keeping it clean throughout, and just committing his car to the move, being significantly alongside as well. Quintino with some impressive time gain, and Van Rooyen doing much of a similar job as Lewis Walker is now on the precipice of dropping out of the DRS detection zone. Needs to hammer down within the next couple of milliseconds, but he's got his hands full as Laminen is going to be firing it down the inside. That is going to be contact between the two of them as they go through turn 12. Laminen a little bit faster on the throttle with the inside line is going to confirm the spot, and with Walker out of DRS range is going to be all for naught. But Van Rooyen is going to take the spot away from Quintino just before they get to turn 13. He is going to now be the tip of the spear as they both catch up to Zach Miles.
And this is the crucial thing. With these two switching positions, lap after lap, it does mean that they close in. The gap's already 1.1 seconds, so they're definitely going to be contenders. Talking about contenders, we've got some absolutely fantastic battling going on behind that we cut to. The gap is now 1 second between first and second, so the DRS really being critical for Danny Van Rooyen. Got past Quintino, used the DRS to also gain on Zach Miles, so they are absolutely in the fight. So they find themselves back in contention for this win, and now they are inside the 1 second. Now we look to Kuba as he's going to try and make the move on Lewis Walker down the outside. He's going to go into turn 8, later on the brakes, turns in, and he takes the position, and now he's going to try to stay with the drivers in front of him, all dueling and continuing to duel. That's close between the Mercedes. Debecourt trying to get to the inside. He is going to be able to do so off turn number 10, and when it's a traction race you would expect Debecourt to come out in front, but they're still going to go wheel to wheel. The two Mercedes making their way through it, very close. Further up, that's Laminen versus Tulki versus Ryan Grubb down to the chicane, and it's Laminen who is ahead, and these guys all find themselves with a bit of a gap to the top three, over the line once again, and it's Andrea Molnar who is powering his way through on Ryan Grubb.
A look to the front of the field as there has been a convergence, and it's going to be Van Rooyen now within a couple of tenths of Zach Miles. That undercut proved to be very strong for initial track position, but it looks like these two have absolutely brought the hammer. They have put 110% into these last few laps, and it shows because right now they are on the cusp of getting P1 once again from the Ferrari. A valiant job, great strategy call from the team in red. But now the pressure is really on with about 8 laps of racing to go.
Pressure is really on for all of these drivers. Trying now to, of course, save up the battery, making sure they have enough for the attack that they'll need on the last lap. It could be coming down to this part of the circuit on the final lap, the last corner on the circuit. Right now, though, they are going to switch positions. You've got the Alpine Danny Van Rooyen back through as well, and you're going to have this battle going on for P1. You're also going to be seeing, first of all, Quintino making the move for second place right now on the run towards turn 1. That's close to contact between himself and Zach Miles, but Quintino gets ahead. You're also going to be getting the battle for fourth position as they have lots of drivers in that mix all the way down to P13, so it's going to be a fascinating scrap in the battle of fourth. So you're going to get a few battles here at the end of this race on lap number 35 to watch out for. So really turning into a fantastic race here for PSGL PCF3, and we definitely didn't expect anything less.
Yep, everyone is still giving 110% at this stage of the game. As you have got the closing laps, looks like there has been an issue. That is Orzo, who has lost the car coming out of turn 14. Just a bit too much on the throttle, it looks like, or a bit of snap oversteer, and he's barely able to get that car turned back around and moving once again. Really is a shame, considering his performance thus far in the season. It's a rare break from form, although not entirely his own fault. Due to the disconnection, it is still disappointing to see him so down in the standings.
Absolutely, and a big opportunity, of course, now, as we mentioned, for the drivers that are behind in the championship, especially Laurie Tulki, Ray's Imtiaz. They're all going to try to take advantage. Andre Molnar also in fourth in the championship. They will get the chance today to close that gap in because, well, when we look at it, early few rounds still of the season, and a 10-point advantage can be pretty strong when it is the early stages still of the championship. And we know from previous form that Diego Zorza can be an all-round complete driver as well, so you're not often going to get these days where he finds himself not being a contender near the front. So you definitely have to take advantage and try take every single point you can over the championship leader right now, and he is going to be just moving past this race and hoping to recover next time out for Qatar. And here is Gabriel Quintino then, and the driver's currently second in the race, trying to take the lead on this circuit. And he will, oh, it's going to be close. Zach Miles was also in there, and Zach Miles went for the lunge, and that is why Gabriel Quintino had to use a bit of the ERS and get closer to Danny Van Rooten, because he was under massive pressure by Zach Miles. So Zach Miles trying to go on the attack, trying to take second place, and it meant that it caused a reaction from Quintino as well in second place.
Looks like Quintino was teeing up the move to go for the lead, but you could almost watch his panic in real time as he set himself up to go on the inside, just peek the front wing end plate of the Ferrari behind as he himself was going for it, and then had to make the strategic choice to yield back to prevent an accident. Although Quintino is far from done yet, you see him closing some serious pace down on that Alpine through that little DRS zone there, and then making sure he's well within detection. He's going to be teeing up for it here, potentially even into turn 12, although not quite going for it in the end. You just see him peeking left, peeking right, looking for a chance and looking for where he can get that move done to take the lead.
Talking about chances, you've got chances all the way through the field, and right now you've got the recarb of Kuba, who's currently in 8th. We've got Ray's Imtiaz and 9th. Tristan Debecourt trying to go on the attack, but we've got a battle for second place going on as well. And Zach Miles gets ahead of Danny Van Rooten, and also Andre Molnar is now in the mix to make it a 4-car battle, and he's moving up to P3. Does have a penalty to his name, which will be costly in this scrap, unless of course he can get it removed post-race, but provisionally it will mean that he loses a few places due to that penalty that is going to be applied.
Yep, and that is going to be a serious problem in regards to the penalties, because those are track limits infractions. With Canada, it's going to be almost inevitable. You will at least get some form of warning unless you're being very conservative with your driving lines. And for the drivers who have got penalties, there's a very, very low chance that there is going to be any kind of appeal for that. In select circumstances, you can get penalties relating to track limits infractions removed if you say got a double warning, but not here in Canada, because those are very unlikely situations and scenarios. Looks like we had a bit of a wobble from Walker as he's dropped down behind the field, but looking back to the front, Van Rooten is going to be challenging alongside his teammate. Is there going to be a yield? This could get dicey, barely opening up the space between himself and Miles as we come up to the line now to start up lap 32. Quintino leads. Van Rooten is on the charge. Molnar waiting in the wings. The two Alpines could work together here if they stop squabbling. And then Walker making it our 4th DNF of the session means there are only 13 drivers to go. But the safety car is out. We don't have a full view of exactly what happened. I'd imagine he just messed up the final chicane and then hit the wall to lose a tyre. serious issue for the leaders right now, because they've got to decide what they're doing. The safety car's only going to be out for a single lap, because lap 34 and 35 have to be racing on green flag conditions. It's hard-coded into the game.
Well, the safety car for the second race in a row in the final stages is going to change the whole race up, and we found ourselves with a situation of Quintino versus Miles versus Van Rooten versus Molnar for the win, but now entering quite a lot of other drivers entering the whole field really as well. Probably not Zorz, I don't know if he's going to get enough time with only one lap as well. As you mentioned, it is hard-coded. We have 2 laps of racing that is going to happen, starting from lap number 34. Quintino continues on. Who drives it into the pit lane? It's Miles, it's Van Rooten. We've got plenty of drivers driving it into the pit lane. This is going to be a fascinating finish. You've got Quintino, Molnar, Laminin, and Kuba all continuing out on their, and Tristan Dericourt as well. Everyone else peeling into the pit lane. This is really going to be quite an interesting finish, and we could be in for quite a lot of shocks.
This is going to be an insane final 2 laps of racing, because the pit runners are going to have to get back to the end of the safety car queue before the race goes green again. Remember, we only have about 45 seconds to do it, so it's going to be a mad rush to get back up to the rest of the field. Not that I think they'd struggle, because we can already see they're getting there, but they're barely going to have a chance to get their heads back in the game. And for these top 5 medium runners, I don't know if staying out was the right call, because everyone else is going to be on prime softs and are going to have some serious pace advantage. So Quintino, Molnar, Laminin, Trzeziak, and Dericourt all staying on those aged mediums. I'd be very worried. Safety car, as expected, being called in to make sure we have those mandatory final 2 laps, and Quintino is going to lead the charge.
Quintino ideally needs Molnar and everyone to get a really poor restart and try their best to defend for Miles. That's really the only way he can get away with this, because you're going to get the drivers on the soft really charging and going on the attack while battling amongst themselves. Well, for the second race in a row, we're going to get 2 laps at the end to decide who is going to take the win. Quintino is going to decide when to put his foot to the floor and try and maintain this lead all the way for the remaining 2 laps that remain in this race. The Aston Martin driver makes his way out of the final corner, about to go on to lap number 34. Not the best exit for Andre Molnar, and immediately on the attack, as you would expect from the Ferrari of Zach Miles. He'll try to get past Tristan Dericourt. He needs to get through immediately, but Tristan Dericourt wants to make a move of his own. He wants to try charge through, and here we go with Danny Van Rooten, who wants to get past all of them. This is absolutely remarkable stuff from Danny Van Rooten, trying to get to the inside. Can he do it? And they're battling for P3 like crazy right now, and it's Laminin, then it is Kuba, and then you've got Danny Van Rooten in 5th, and this is the chance for Quintino to try and get away. Throwing one to the inside and taking P4 is Danny Van Rooten.
Van Rooten being the first to pierce the wall. That is the medium runners. Serious mistake from Dericourt, going to drop him all the way down to P12. 3 wide at points as they all fought for that track space, all fought for that position. And right now, it's a mad dash on all sides to try and get themselves into those positions. You can see Miles and Tulke going side by side with one another. It's 2 abreast as you go through turn 12 and on the hairpin. And all eyes are on the soft runners, on Van Rooten, on Zach Miles, on Larry Tulke, and the others as they all try to push ahead and push forward. Quintino, Molnar, and Laminin are going to remain firm as we go on to the final lap of racing. The Aston Martin leads. Van Rooten is trying to chase. The DRS has been enabled by race control to add a little bit of extra spice to that final run. And right now, we have quite the challenge on our hands as Van Rooten. He's going to peek up the inside. He's going to go for the send on Laminin. There's going to be an off-track excursion there as Laminin is forced to take to the grass to prevent that position being lost. Serious side-by-side contact, and I'm not sure whether that is going to be appealed by the racers and the viewed by stewards. But Van Ruyten still chasing, still fighting, looking for any chance he can get. There will be the DRS at the end, but he looks like he's pumped all the battery. He's on the recharge lights. And as we come through, Miles and Tilke, Peekins 2, nearly 3 wide. As the Hasses change places, Van Ruyten gets past and into the 3rd spot. Is it going to be enough with the DRS to get to Molnar, to get to Quintino? It's a single corner in it. Tilke's going to be side by side. Molnar takes it on the penultimate corner. Can he get it through? It's going to be, of course, a penalty, but on track. Molnar is going to take that final corner, and Quintino is going to take first place, his first win here at PCF 3. And after such strong quality pace, he converted it tonight.
Fantastic stuff from Gabriel Quintino. Question marks. Did they take the right strategy by not pitting, and he expected all of the chaos that took place behind, and it turned out they lost too much time, the drivers on the soft carbon out tires, dueling in these opening few corners of lap number 34, and by the end of lap number 35, Quintino is the winner, and the driver who's shown brilliant pace in qualifying today has also done it in the race as well. A absolutely fantastic drive from him, and well, another race to remember here this season in PSGL PCF 3. It continues to deliver.
Continues to deliver indeed, and what a final couple of laps we saw after the safety car offered a big shake-up. So to take you all through the results of that race, we have ourselves Quintino getting the race of dreams for himself. It's a pole position, it's a P1, and a very impressive race weekend. We'd love to hear from him in the commentary box and get a chance to chat to him later, alongside Tilke and Miles being 2nd and 3rd. Rob and Alters is going to be taking 4th and 5th, with Imtiaz Molnar after the penalty being demoted down from P1 on track to P7 final, with Van Ruyten doing an impressive performance in their own right. Trezak and Derbacourt going to round up your top 10, and then of your finishers you have Buba, Laminen and Zozo limping it to the very end. It's keeping firm and keeping it all the way to the end despite all the connection issues. They saw the race out, which is very commendable. And then you had Walker, JST, Sashanib and GP7, who unfortunately didn't make it to the end out there tonight. See if we can get a chance to talk to any of the drivers, but what a final couple of laps, I gotta say. Quite the last couple of laps there.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we got the safety car right to the end, when we saw most of the drivers going for the set of softs, and when we saw a few drivers staying out there, it was just expected that it was all going to go pretty wild right in the final 2 laps. Cars absolutely everywhere, left, right, center. It's exactly what we got. And it meant that we had a bit of a scruffy finish there for the drivers. Some will be disappointed, of course. Gabriel Quintino went the way that he would have wanted, even though we might have expected possibly for him not to get a chance, but the soft drivers were stuck in the early few corners on lap number 34. It meant that Quintino had the advantage. He finished 2nd on the road, but when the penalties were applied, he was the winner.
Yep, and in the end of it all, it was an amazing race. It was amazing to see. I know that we got a little bit dicey towards the end there, but it's going to be plenty of stories to discuss. And we do have our driver of the hour waiting in the commentary box, so let's bring him in. Quintino, can you hear us?
Yeah, yep.
Well, first off, welcome to the box and welcome to the top step. I'm sure you've been waiting for a little bit of time, but congratulations on not only a pole, but a race win out there.
Yeah, that was nice. I think, the start of the season was, I struggled a bit, of course. I think, mostly due to my driving, but at the same time, I was getting quite unlucky. But yeah, I mean, that win was really good. So, yeah, I think, quality pace, I think overall, let's say this season, I think it has been a strong point for me. Of course, three poles in 4 races, but yeah, I still needed, to find out, what was happening through the races that, made me, have a step back a little bit. So yeah, I think that was good. Nice win, of course, to boost the confidence, of course, trying to come back in the championship. So yeah, that would definitely felt good.
Yeah, it must have felt amazing. I mean, your season so far, how would you describe it from your perspective? So obviously you've had some points coming in through some of your finishes, and qualifying, of course, being a very impressive spectacle. So how would you reflect on at least your forward rounds at this point?
I mean, definitely, Australia was definitely, a race that had a really strong pace, of course, but unfortunately, of course, the strategy and the VSC put me back, and trying to come back, I just made stupid mistakes throughout the race. So yeah, basically killed my race in there. Kota I think, was good as well. I did not have an advantage, as big as Australia, but like I still had pretty good pace. But again, and just people went in different directions, especially with setup wise. So I need to figure out something in the strategy, and of course I got 3 seconds at Kota, which didn't help as well. So at least it was a P4 finish. That was my best finish until this race. And Spa, the pace was good. Quality wasn't great, but the pace was good in the race. But yeah, unfortunately, I just got I just got killed again. So yeah, I think I would say definitely unlucky, but at the same time, I had mistakes from my side as well. But yeah, I mean, this race, I think everything went pretty perfect. Really honest. I think quality was great. Race pace was really good as well. Especially here that it's kind of difficult, to break the DRS string. And yeah, I think we show pretty strong pace as well here. So yeah, a big shout out to Veloci, of course, for helping me on that, and and engineering and stuff. Yeah, it just wanted to makes you keep going. So yeah, pretty proud of the race today, and yeah, hopefully we can have that momentum for the rest of the season.
Yeah, so well, I was going to ask that, but you sort of answered me a question about whether you're sort of seeing that to be the start of a bit of momentum. So one last question before I hand it over to Omi, and any questions you might have. What was going through your mind through those final 3 laps? Because the safety car comes out for barely a lap. You choose to stay out on those aged mediums, and you were facing some serious pressure towards the end. So what was your sort of judgment call? What was your mindset through those final 3 laps?
When the safety car came out, we already thought, yeah, we're gonna stay out. There is no point on pitting. I mean, firstly, it's because we just have 2 laps, and here is pretty difficult to overtake unless you dive bomb someone. So we thought, you know what, let's just stay out because that's the right call, of course. Even though the Softs were going to have a very big advantage, we knew that people that were way behind, they were going to stay out and of course block the soft runners. So we knew that by the time that we decided to stay out. So yeah, I think that was the perfect call, let's say. If we had one more lap, I don't know, maybe the soft would be, the soft runners could could have gotten a better result. But I mean, it was just 2 laps, so yeah, everyone was going all in. So yeah, I think we made the right the right call there.
Yeah, well, certainly an impressive result out there tonight. It's a pole position plus a win on the race weekend. Couldn't really have gone better. Omi, anything from you?
Well, looking ahead to the next round in Qatar, how do you think you'll get on at Lucelle International?
Last season I had a pretty decent race there. Was just got unfortunately, I got unlucky. Someone disconnected ahead of me, so then I couldn't fight for the race win. Pace wise, last season it seemed pretty good, so maybe I can carry that momentum forward. I think we have pretty interesting tracks ahead, especially after the break. So yeah, that's definitely going to be an interesting season coming up.
Brilliant stuff. Well done today.
Thank you.
And a very impressive run. Well, hopefully we see you in the commentary box more, but they take a well-earned rest. You've certainly done brilliantly tonight, and for now, kick your feet up. You've earned it.
Thank you so much. See you.
And that is going to be, of course, Gabriel Quintino, which leads us on to Larry Talkie, our next driver we get to talk to. So, Larry, can you hear us in the box?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, I've got to say, very impressive performance today, both in quali with the P5 and then converting it in the race with a solid P2. How are you feeling about the race weekend?
I mean, it was so chaos. I can't take anything at the moment.
Well, it was a very chaotic final 2 laps, wasn't it? So what was going through your mind during that time when everything was kicking off? Obviously, you were one of the drivers who made the choice to jump onto the red walls, onto the soft.
Yeah, I think I should box because yeah, the tire advance was so huge and it did work out in the end.
Yeah, so was there a particular strategy going into this race weekend for you, or a particular goal that you had in mind?
No, only my goal was to get good points, and I did it now, so I mean, we just move on and continue into another races.
And looking at your sort of season in review, that approach, having those consistent points, it has served you quite well thus far, hasn't it? So currently P3 in the standings and likely to add more points onto that total after tonight. How have you been feeling about that season so far?
I mean it has been so far okay.
And how are you feeling about Qatar before the break?
I mean, let's see how I can do in there. It's a good track, but I don't care honestly about the tracks.
Oh, fair enough. So you show up on the day, you get it done, you move on. That's a solid strategy to go for. What's your goal for this season? Sort of expand the scope a little bit. Do you have any particular place you're looking to finish at by the end of the championship season?
I mean, the top 3 would be good. That's my target to be in.
Certainly look on track for it. So, any questions from you, Omi? I think I've said my piece.
Well, you've covered it all, Sappy. But yeah, well done today, Larry Tolkien. Hopefully we get to speak to you more throughout the season.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, take care. A well-earned rest after a solid race performance. Well done.
Thank you.
And that leaves us, ladies and gentlemen, with one more interviewee in the one and only Zach Miles. Let's bring him in. Let's have a chat. So, Zach, can you hear us in the commentary box?
Yep, hello.
Welcome and good job on today's race. So, solid quali with the P2 and then converting that into a P3 by the end of the race distance. How are you feeling about this race weekend?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, in qualifying, my last run was interesting because I went out quite early and I invalidated in the tricky little chicane, and I decided I'm going to back off. I'm going to cool my tyres down. I'm going to try again. So I was a little bit over temperature and I was a little bit high on tyre wear. But yeah, we pulled together a really good lap considering and stuck at P2 just behind Gabrielle. And then yeah, in the race we managed it well. Box lap early, got out DRS, which just gave us some breathing space for a bit. Saved some tyres, and it was looking quite good to be honest. And then we had that safety car, and yeah, we just couldn't quite touch Gabrielle. Everyone was fighting each other, and it was just carnage. So yeah.
Well, I was going to ask you what was going on in your mind during those last 3 laps, because of course the safety car comes out at the very last minute. You only get 1 lap of said safety car, and then you have the mandatory 2 laps on green flags. You were one of the drivers who made the choice to go in for the soft. So what was your judgment call at that point?
We were just thinking how many people stay out, because obviously if everyone stays out, you've got to overtake a lot more cars in the 2 laps, and it's not really worth it. And if everyone stays out and you stay out, a lot more cars have got to be overtaken to get to you. So we were just trying to predict that. We gambled on going into the pits, and to be honest, I think staying out would have been the way to go, because of the amount of fighting, no one could really push on their tyres anyway, and we would have held track position.
Certainly did look very chaotic. I think at points you were seeing drivers go 3 wide at some stages. But kept it working, kept it clean. And that being said, you were near the front throughout the most of the race. So obviously not banking on the safety car, but did you have a particular plan, a particular strategy going in, or was this very much a work with what the field has got situation?
We knew we were going to go for the hards off the start. That seems to be a fairly standard strategy just because of how hard it is to break DRS. So we knew we were going to go for the hard. And then we just decided to cover off the undercut because we were confident in our ability to save the tyres. So we covered off the undercut and it gave us some breathing space, obviously, because we got past those hard runners. And then, yeah, it was, just cover off the undercut. That's the plan.
I have to say that was quite impressive to see you come out about 2.5 seconds at one point ahead of the rest of the field with that undercut. It did look like a very strong strategy, and barring the shake-up at the very end, it was looking like a strong performance. So, very well done, of course, and with some solid points under the belt now. How are you feeling about the season in full?
It's been a tricky one, to be honest. I mean, at Australia, we had some PC issues. Kota, we got a 3-second penalty, but we were still P5. Spa, again, PC issue. We had some, issue. We were just, And, obviously, podium today, which I'm quite happy with, but it could have been more. But yeah, pace is looking strong. It's a long season, so we just got to keep our chin up and just keep pushing.
Yeah, well, you got Qatar just before the November break. How are you feeling about that circuit?
It's an interesting one. I mean, I had a good race there last season. So yeah, we're just going to have to put in some work. Qualifying is very important now. So yeah, we'll just have to work hard and see what we can do.
Well, very impressive stuff. Naomi, anything?
Well, I'm going to touch a bit on the few breaks that we have, of course, this season. So as a driver, what sort of preparation do you do in those breaks for the rounds ahead, if you do anything?
Well, I mean, for Christmas, I think it will just be sort of enjoying Christmas, the festive break. And then, yeah, you just got to look at, certain tracks. I've not driven Las Vegas this game. I've not done much on Bahrain, so I might do a bit of time trial there just to build up the pace. But yeah, just look at what you got ahead, see where you might struggle, and just try and get a bit of a head start, really.
Brilliant stuff. Hopefully we get to see you on the podium more this season, and maybe even the top step.
Yeah, we can only hope.
Either way, we're looking forward to it. But for now,
yeah,
take a well-earned rest with a solid performance and a great race under the belt. Well done, Zach.
All right, thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
And that is where we leave things for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So, we, of course, have Qatar next time out. So, join us same time next week. We're about to join over with the F2 and get back into some racing action. But it's been amazing to broadcast over these drivers and from both of us in PC F3. We wish you a very good evening. Of course, stay tuned if you want to catch more PSGL and subscribe to the channel. Give us a like on the stream if you enjoyed what you've seen, and keep tuned in because same time next week we head to Qatar for the final race before the November break. Don't go anywhere. Use code PSGL to support the people who support us over at GT Omega and Sim Racing Centre. But for now, we take our leave. So good night all. Have a brilliant evening, and we will see you next time.